Hi guys, I'm Quipster, and this is going to be the first in a series of videos that I do with Paul. Paul was kind enough to give me a segment on Forge the Narrative, and we're going to be interviewing people from all around the hobby. It's going to be all to do with lore, competitive, hobby, painting, all of it. It's going to be super interesting. This is the first episode, and I'm going to be sitting down with Paul, and we're going to be going through things that I want to talk about in this series going forward, and kind of a bit of an introduction to myself. This first episode is a little bit rough around the edges, so I do apologize. But thanks for sticking with me. Ah, right. So wait, so am I leading this or are you leading this? I thought
you're leading this, man. This is you're teeing this up. This is gonna look. We're gonna tell folks this, but we got some awesome segments coming where you are talking to players around the world, a lot in the Europe area, or could be anywhere, about awesome stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll do the quick intro. Man, I'm all screwed up now. I thought this was like completely the opposite situation. Oh Jesus. But yes, for those people listening, I am Quipster. I'm currently with Paul Murphy. We are on Forge the Narrative, yeah. So this is, I guess, my introduction to the Forge the Narrative audience. Hello.
I kind of I let people know that you're going to be doing something, or we're going to be doing something as FTN coming out on YouTube and other mediums and stuff. And hey, this is it.
Awesome. Actually, this is a good question. So, what prompted you in the to approach me and just be like, "Oh, let's do a YouTube thing"? Where did that come from?
Well, I mean, you're awesome. I mean, that's it. I like how you interact with folks and ask people things and talk about the hobby. I think that your approach to it is really cool, and I know that you know a lot of cool people. And I thought, why not? Let's showcase that and you and then in this format. You know, kind of a shorter format of people talking about things that are important to them in the hobby, or focusing on a specific tactic or something like that, painting or a tip. This all goes into this pop your tabletop concept that I'm kind of been working on. There's going to be some more stuff behind this too, even where we're going to be reviewing people's miniatures, listener submitted miniatures, and going to review them from a battle ready format to an artist level thing that's coming out with. Cannot wait for those types of segments. And I thought, man, we could do a little bit more and talk to some of these players that I don't normally speak to.
Oh, amazing! It's funny you should say that. I'm well connected in the hobby. I often one of the FTN co-hosts, Tanya, the War Mistress. I often tease her that she's like the most well connected person in the hobby I think I've almost ever met. It is hilarious the amount of people that she knows.
She's awesome too. I mean, that's a great painter. Plays the game. I mean, yeah.
Absolutely. I've completely drawn a blank on questions I should ask, because normally I've got the two screens in front of me here. I've got one with the questions and one with the person interviewing. But obviously, I thought I was being interviewed, so I don't need any questions. It's fine.
Well, look, we can run like this, and this is one of those things to where I think that we already actually have a couple of people coming up to speak with that you've already spoken with that we're going to release next week. And so maybe tell me a little bit about how you approach that, what people can expect, and then what type of guest you'll have on.
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. So, one thing I always find really difficult to express to people, being in that I live in London, is how vibrant the scene is here. Because we have, I don't know if you ever heard of the London Wargaming Guild.
I have. That's the ones that I think that one of the longest running. They have like a clubhouse actually on the river or something.
Yep.
Is that
Yep.
it? Okay.
So yeah, the London Wargaming Guild is, as far as I'm aware, the biggest Warhammer club in the world. They have over 1,000 members, and they actually have a physical location, like a clubhouse in. It's just near Leicester Square, actually. So it's like incredibly central London, and I've been there a lot. And they do this really interesting thing, because it's really, when you first get back into the hobby, you may not know this because you've been in the hobby for like so long.
Don't say how long. It's a long time, but don't say
so many years. But yeah, getting back into the hobby can be fairly intimidating, because you don't know anyone. So you're like, oh, I want to organize a game, and you're like instantly, oh no, I don't have any friends that play this game. And so what the London Wargaming Guild do is you go on this app and you get matched with someone, and you just meet up with that person at the clubhouse. And it's so nice because you've got like an instant friend in London. And you've got this instant like share connection of like, oh, we're both Warhammer nerds. This is cool.
That's pretty cool. An app, their own app. That's
Well, no, it's an app called Meetup, which is a way for adults to find hobby groups. And so there's a whole bunch of things I signed up for. So there's like a politics reading club, or there's a knitting club, and that's how they organize themselves. And there just so happens to be the London Wargaming Guild as well. And so yeah, through the guild, I've been able to like create this network of people that I know through London. And from that, I'm going to cherry pick a couple of people. And see, Paul can see this, but people listening to this can't. I'm very gesticular when I talk. I'm very hand wavy.
I talk with my hands too. Yeah, you'll see it. You're not supposed to get your hands this close to the camera because you get monster hands. That's what I've learned in the Zoom culture that we're in now. Whatever.
But yeah, so I just happen to know a whole bunch of people in London, and then from there, I've got to know a whole bunch of like other people in the wider like Warhammer UK scene. Because Paul, I don't know if you know this, but England's not a very big place. Like, I think we kind of all know each other in the Warhammer scene here. It's just so tiny. And so, yeah, I think there are two people specifically that I want to get on, because they're three people that I want to get on in the next upcoming segments, because they're just some of the best examples of Warhammer, especially in London, that I've seen. One is my buddy Charles, and he is a ridiculous human being because he got into Warhammer, and his professional day job is that he's a bespoke high-end furniture designer, and he doesn't do things by half. And so he decided, okay, I'm going to get back into this hobby. I'm going to create my own Warhammer club, and I'm also going to like end up with 7 full tables of terrain 2 months into restarting the hobby. And it was just like, wow, dude, okay. And so he's been pivotal in like helping a bunch of us get back into the hobby. Then there's a buddy of mine. His name's AJ, and he is quite possibly one of the most terrifyingly ridiculous hobbyists I've ever seen. And
like skill wise, like painting and
just in terms of his imagination, like
all right.
I've never been genuinely horrified by a model on the table before he brought out I'll send you a picture of this in a minute. It is genuinely astounding and makes me physically ill every time I see it on the table, because it's what are the AdMech transports called? The ones that look like D-Day landers.
Yeah, the Dune Striders, that kind of stuff. I think
it's like open topped. It looks like a hovercraft, whatever that one is.
There's two versions of it. There is an open top one, and then there's a closed top tank one. So, but yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So he's got the open topped one, and he was just like, "Oh, I'm gonna make a Dark Mechanicum." I was like, "All right, okay, cool." And when Jesus Christ, so you know, have you ever seen these like baby dolls, and they've got the plastic arms and stuff? Do you
yeah.
know
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he put a bunch of those parts on this thing, and it looks like something that crawled out of a nightmare. And
wow.
It's like Dark Mechanicum Force. And literally, he put it in the WhatsApp group, and I was just like, I have just thrown up in my mouth. That's amazing.
Wow. Yeah.
What were you thinking?
Truly. Well, that's good. It's cool, and you'll have them on. So we're talking about, these are segments that you will do. These will appear routinely on this channel. So I think hearing how they came up with this, and then maybe little techniques about how they approach it, I think is going to be real fun.
Precisely. I really like doing these deep dives into like certain niches of the hobby, and it's going to be really difficult for me to like stay on track, because like I'm in a podcast with a bunch of friends in London called the Conclave Podcast, and our whole deal is that we just go off on wild tangents, like to the point where we just I think, have you ever seen a film called Battleship? I think Rihanna was in it.
I don't know that I have.
Oh, you are missing out for a start.
Okay.
But obviously, on the Conclave, as a Warhammer podcast, we went on a wild 45-minute tangent about how I think that film is great. And all the guys were just like, what is wrong with you, man? So like being on a smaller like 20-minute format's gonna be very difficult for me to like just stay on the point. But I promise I will try my best.
Oh, so we actually, here's the secret. We have already a couple recorded and they're coming up and they're absolutely brilliant. I mean, I think that that we showcase some of these individuals, what the hobby means to them, what, how they're hobbying, including playing and that kind of stuff. And I think they're going to be a joy to listen to. I mean, if I didn't say it before, I think folks are really going to like it.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. It's going to be really interesting as well because like one thing I think that it can be difficult to convey on Instagram, on Facebook, and even in podcasts is the creativity out in the world at the moment, especially to do with the hobby. Like, for example, one of the people coming up is actually one of my co-hosts on the Conclave 40K podcast. His name's Ed, and just his theme for his Dreamstealer cult army was astounding because it's so simple and he's executed it so well because they're all farmers as opposed to like industrial miners.
Oh, until my, okay.
And it's just like, well, who would have thought to do that? I assume very few people would have like actually gone, oh yeah, of course, that's like a bit of the universe that we can try and explore. And so it's going to be really nice to be able to like highlight that kind of stuff. And you know, we'll get some Blood Angels in there for you as well at some point.
Please, I'm going to be tuning in as well. So I gotta get some Blood Angel content. I know. That's really cool, man, and I appreciate you stepping up to do this. I mean, I think it's going to be an important contribution to the show, the FTN network, and the hobby as well. I mean, that's one of these things that since we've been separated, from proximity, and people have not been able to go out there and do it. Just knowing that people are experiencing the hobby in the same way that they are. Getting some tips on how to do things, and then sharing these ideas, and you never know what's gonna spawn some idea in somebody else that they're going to want to do. And I think the more time that we get opportunities to highlight this kind of thing, the better it is.
Exactly. I mean, while you're here, actually, one thing I've kind of been I've got my interview hat on now. One
All
thing
right.
I've been intrigued to know is like you're fairly active in the competitive scene. I say fairly, I mean very. And like
Well, I was until this last year.
exactly, like how has it been not being able to really, for you guys especially, not being able to go out there and actually like do things and you know actually see each other? Like how have you
uh,
been
the,
handling it?
I think that the tournament scene or the convention scene and that kind of stuff is kind of like a natural extension of the hobby for me. Like I, I hobby fairly regularly. I got a lot of I play several armies. I love to paint. I paint things for friends. I paint things for myself. I do other gaming as well, board gaming, that kind of stuff. And being able to go and hang out with some other like-minded folks are some of my best friends in the world that I only see 2 or 3 times a year because they don't live next to me. I have to, they live somewhere in another state or another country, and we convene in these places. And not having that, it's been tough. But we still interact. I mean, you still chat. There's things you can do, but it's just not quite the same. And so that I've missed more than even the thrill of the hunt for those game wins. And I knew that before, but I think I've even more kind of solidified that in my brain now. Is that that's why we go to these things, those types of stories. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I do like to play. So I can tell you that my number of what I would consider like tournament prep games, tournament style games, I'm down this year. Like I've been playing more skirmish games or more. Um, I don't want to use the term casual, but I've games to where they're a little bit more fluid, less. We can
Mm,
we have a lot more give and take maybe than we would in a game where stakes were on the line and that kind of stuff. And I have enjoyed
mm,
it, but I'm really looking forward to getting on my list tinker hat again. Like I'm going to make mean list and get out there
mm.
and interact and dominate that play space type thing. And all a little bit tongue in cheek, of course, but that's I look forward to having a reason to get back out there. And I don't
Mm.
mind saying this either, is that I'm an event driven painter. So like I paint
Ah,
more leading up to one of these things than I probably would. Yeah, just I mean, I love to say, and I mentioned this on somebody else's show recently, is that I'd love to say that I've gotten 2 or 3 armies painted during this last year, but I didn't. I got 4 or 5 units, painted very well, and I realized that I need that event structure to help me get closer to, to really power through, to bring out what my best painting and speed of painting is.
Mm. I see exactly what you're saying, and I've got a few friends especially who like want to get more into the competitive scene, and we're about to, and then lockdown happened. And they were all saying that, yeah, I've previously been painting a lot to play games, and like a lot of people out there at the moment are just like, oh yeah, I should have painted a whole army, and I totally did not do that.
Well, you
Uh,
think procrastination is a real thing. So then you
oh,
think, oh, well, certainly, we'll be over this, or I've got, next week, or we don't even know when we can really go to events, depending on what country you're in, and all the advisement that each country is providing. Some people just don't know when they can get out and do it freely. So you think that you always have the time, or it's all going to meet around the corner. I'm telling you, paint now, paint early, paint often, paint. Learn
true.
from my mistakes.
It's so true. It's funny actually. I was having this conversation with my cousin the other day. He's just got into Dark Angels. He's just got into Dark Angels, and he was saying to me like, "Oh yeah, I'm finding it very difficult to get the motivation up to paint stuff." And I had to say to him like, "Look, dude, don't worry about it. In lockdown, especially, we're both in London. It's been very strict, and there's been months and months where you've just not been able to go out and see anyone. And in that kind of environment, it's very easy to become emotionally burned out and just
Mhm.
not want to do anything." And I had to say to him, like, look, no, dude, I think you need to be a bit kinder to yourself right now and like not worry about the fact that you didn't paint anything over X amount of time because, it's a really tough, pretty crap situation. Am I allowed to say crap?
Yeah, yeah,
Is
yeah.
it
Why not?
okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's pretty tough. It's a pretty crap situation that we've all been in. And like it's not the natural state of things. So like I think we all need to give ourselves a little bit of a pat on the back for having gotten through this as
That's
well as
some
we
great
have.
advice, man. Yeah, that's great perspective, and that's it. I mean, this is another common thing that we say on the show. People, they're worried that their paint jobs aren't good enough or whatever. Like, comparison is the death of happiness. So don't worry
Oh,
about whatever, do what you want to do, and to your own pace and that kind of stuff. I mean, I support that. I just realized that my pace picks up a lot when it's closer, when I'm a week out from a tournament. That's
oh, for
and I
sure.
feel like I need that back. So we have the road so that Games Workshop announced a road show here, so a series of events in the U.S. and I'm looking forward to uh, as those get closer, potentially interacting with those and what I'm together if I can make it out, that kind of thing. It's
Oh, that's
I'm starting to get my juices flowing for army list that I think because I have been playing games, but it's not the same when you go out there and interact with someone who plays in a completely different group. Their play style or what they've maybe geared their list for is completely different than what you're gearing your list for, and you got to kind of figure out what the best thing to do to take is, and I enjoy that part of list construction, and I'm looking forward to knocking the dust off all that as soon as possible.
That's so true. I think people forget that events in general are like a strangely holistic experience because you've got everything beforehand, all the prep work, all the list building, all the theory crafting. You get there and it's like, oh, I'm going to do all of that and hang out with some like cool people and see all my friends. And then afterwards, you've just got like I don't know, the come down where you're just like, oh no, that was such a good weekend. But now like you just come off the high and you just like suddenly like a little bit sad.
There
But
is a bit of a high to it, yeah.
one thing I was going to ask you, actually, because you've been in the hobby for like a long time now, you have a very successful podcast and a very recognizable voice. How often do you get recognized at events and people come up to you and they're like, "Oh my God, you're Paul Murphy from Force Narrative. I
Okay.
love you."
That doesn't happen, but but
It definitely
sometimes,
does.
yeah. Well, sometimes when I'm walking through a crowd and they'll hear the voice, and then they'll say, "Oh, I've listened," or "I used to listen," or "I think my older brother used to listen to you," or whatever. It's like, but I
Oh, it's
I
awesome.
get that. That's very fun, and it is neat because people, they share their hobby stories, and they also share how they've interacted with the show. Or occasionally we'll do these segments called finishing moves, which is just a way you can spend 5 more minutes on your model and get something, a lot much more dramatic effect than maybe you were planning on doing. You already put the model down, you thought you were done, but here's 5 more minutes you could spend on that and really make it pop. Pop your tabletop. I'm going to plug the segment here. We're doing that kind of stuff. But uh, they'll show that, they'll tell me that, and it's so cool to hear that. And then I hear that people are like, oh, I learned about this tactic, so I knew to watch for it because my friend plays that army or whatever, or they used it or something, or they used it themselves. And just hearing their reaction and interaction and how they seemingly enjoy it is really fun.
Oh, absolutely. And actually, talking about that, it's funny you should mention like that particular example as well, because for listeners who may not know this, I do a lot of stuff with deploymentzone.tv, which is the subscription service for Winter's SEO on YouTube. And so I listened to get into Custodes, my main army, the whole like 8th edition breakdown you did on Forge the Narrative with all those other guys, and it was just like, okay, these units are great for this, these strats are great at this, blah blah blah. I used all of that, and even though Winters has a Custodes army, he didn't realize some of the tricks that you can pull off, and I accidentally pulled off a bit of a gotcha. And what's the teleport? What's the Vexilla teleport homer where you can
Yep.
drop in 3 inches from someone?
Yep.
I did that to him, and he called me some things off camera that I will not repeat here.
Those are the times you remember, though. It's
Oh
yep.
yes,
I I dig it.
absolutely.
But see, that'll never happen again. He'll never get caught like that again.
He
Uh,
never will. But yeah, if he ever comes on here and he kind of hates you, that might be why.
don't tell him
I
it was
just
me.
dropped you in it.
Okay. Oh, no, I would have never done this, but they suggested it. Well,
Yes.
part of what we do on the show is we try to just give awareness to some of these things for different reasons. It's like some of the stuff is just kind of fun. Sometimes it's fun to, you know, I don't want to say pull one over because you're not doing that, but you finally locked in all your pieces of your combo. You've hit all the buttons, you've moved the joystick in the right way, and you've got that uppercut, and it's just like, yeah, it's a fun
Oh
thing.
yeah. It's just like is that meme like you have just unleashed my trap card.
Yeah. But that's one of we do some codex reviews and going down, and we try to hit the highlights of what you may see out there, what you may want to play, or units you can build around. We actually just did Adeptus Mechanicus and the review on that, which is not published yet. It'll publish well probably maybe by the time people hear this, but
Dude, you got me worried for a second there. I was just like, wait, they have? I haven't listened to this one.
it's not yet. But we talk about units to build around. So like if you're interested in the army, about how you could start your collection if you were just getting into XYZ thing. So trying to go that angle as well.
Awesome, awesome. I think we're coming up on time for us. So yeah, dude, it's been great to chat. I'm sorry, listeners who are just tuning in. They're just like, what the hell was this meandering journey with this English dude? What the hell just happened here?
They're gonna get used to it because I think so these are going to be fun segments. I know you're going to do a great job. The people you got are fun, uh, eh, champions of the hobby, I think, and going to have a lot to share. And hearing you talk to them, because you and where can people find you? Because you do this kind of thing on Instagram occasionally as well.
Yes. So people can find me in a lot of places. Instagram is the big one at the moment. At Quipster Nerd. That's a place to find me. I have a YouTube channel as well called Quipster Nerd. And I'm on I have a show on deploymentzone.tv called The Fireside Chat, which is like this, but 3 hours long. And also I'm on a podcast called the Conclave 40K podcast. Those are all the places.
Well, thanks for having me on your segment. Hopefully, we've kind of enticed people to want to listen to the next one and future ones. And hey, we've at least warned them what's going to show up on the channel.
Exactly. And yes. Oh, and while we're here, yes, Paul, Forge Narrative has a new Instagram account.
Yes, we'll be posting things to it, and the link will be in these notes or on. I will share it on the Facebook page. Got a guy, buddy, an actual buddy, but he runs the Facebook page, and that's going to help us run the Instagram page. Named Simon, and Simon we have some segments from him coming up, I believe, pretty soon too. So there's a lot happening. So if you have not already liked, or I don't know what you're supposed to do, subscribe, hit a button, hit a bell or something, you probably want to do that so you don't miss this stuff.
Awesome. Perfect. And on that note, we're going to peace out. Thank you all for watching. And Paul, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me on your segment, man.